Okay, guys, let's get into it. Regular white people are not going to tell you this. White people are not going to tell you this. A lot of them, I don't even, some of them, I don't even think they know. Like, decent white people that are not racist and not gang members, because there's racist gang members, non-racist gang members, non-racist decent people. Okay. Follow along. So, and I didn't know this, like, I just found this out when I got arrested, because I was in there. When I was in there, I wasn't gonna sit there and be stressed out about it, because I know I didn't do nothing wrong, number one. Number two, I was like, while I'm in here, I'm gonna take this opportunity and get all this damn tea. So, and this is some tea. Okay, I'm talking about a completely different state than where these 7 children were tortured, sexually assaulted, and then assassinated. Oklahoma. That's where they're from. Henrietta, I think it is. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because when I see stuff, there are certain things that, like, I always know that there's a bigger purpose for, a bigger purpose for everything. But I'm not one to be like, oh, there's more to this story, right? Because obviously there's more to any story, but when you say that, it's like, it's like you have this internal, it's intuition where you're like, there is much more going on here. And the thing is, they try to mess up the narrative all the time. That's how they control people, because they just control your mind, right? They got white people that are racist out here thinking that minorities are not shit, and they want the slavery. They love the slavery, and that's it. And then those guys, they're everywhere. Like, they're everywhere. They literally are everywhere in the United States. So, but like, impressionable white people get around them that, let's say, they may not have been racist or whatever, and then they push this ideology, or they grew up with them, and then they just see that that's how they are, and then either they become like them or they don't. But because they're so secluded from so many different minorities, and the only ones that they hire are like, they've been like, they hire each other. But the people that, even like the racists that are not in gangs, they've been hired. Mexicans, that's why you're seeing like Hispanic racists, and but they really, like, they don't like black people. So, and to each their own. You can have your opinion, but when you're out there fucking shit up, we got a problem. So I learned that about this case, because we're gonna focus as much as we can on the case. My mind is everywhere all the time. So in this case, what we know is that the children were found, everybody was dead. The sheriffs did their investigations. They caught multiple agencies, multiple departments did investigation. But when you see the helicopter flying above, you see a lot of guys out there just basically standing around shooting the shit. Okay? You don't see nobody looking for nothing. It's easy to close off a crime scene. You don't need dudes standing there. Okay? That's number one. Number two, and being a cop, I'm like, this is not how we used to do. I mean, they used to do some other stuff, and then I was just like, that's why I left the career when I did. But we're not talking about me. So they did an investigation, and they concluded it and closed the case, right? Because the kids are dead, everybody's dead. So it's not like they have to find anybody, right? This is the beginning of me going the fuck off. Because For one, we're talking about conservative towns who were following cult members of Donald Trump. Okay? Mr. Grab him by the kitty cat. Mr. We're gonna clean up the swamp. Mr. Oh, we want the name of all the pedos and this, and that. Mr. I didn't do it. But yet, and what I call him now is Mr. because they said he was a narcissist. Narcissists gaslight you. So everything that he said is everything he said he was gonna do, like, oh, we're gonna clean swamp, this, we want the pedo names. He's talking about himself. These people, he's talking about things that he did. When he's talking about the votes being stolen, he was trying to steal the votes, right? That's how they work. So when we're talking about the pedos, he was chilling with them. He's probably one of them. When I saw a picture of how he had his hand on his daughter, men that are not pedos, they don't be touching their daughters like that. They don't make comments about their daughters about, how if they weren't their daughter, that they would be having sexual intercourse with them because they're so attractive. What we know about his daughter is that she was very promiscuous. Psychologists say that is evidence of mental illness, but most mental illnesses are usually coming from some type of trauma, usually sexual trauma. That's what they claim it. So put him to the side, because he already found guilty on one thing, and when we talking about busting the lid, opening a can of worms, okay, that's a whole nother story. So they're coming from a town that's like this. So why is none of them sheriffs have a fire underneath them to look further into this? And then on top of that, nobody in the town knew, supposedly, that a pedophile lived there, was renting. But what we see on the TV is that once the investigation was closed, then the parents were allowed to, they asked the landlord if they could go in. And one of the parents were asked if they could go in and look for more evidence if they could. They're in the middle of a funeral, getting funeral preparations together, and they wanted to go back in. And so they already requested it immediately. The landlord tells them, you have 3 days to come in here, or I'm going to throw all this stuff in the dumpster. No. When I hear that, I say no. Because they had to stop funeral preparations. Everybody is looking at this case. So everybody knows. And the landlord tells them that they only have 3 days. So now they have to stop funeral preparations so that they can find more evidence. That is not the mentality of an empathic person, a sympathetic person. At least sympathy, you can say, oh, well, I might not feel for you, but I understand. I'll give you some time. No. Okay? So then I see 2 articles. So I'm looking at the landlord. I'm like, this is not looking right. I'm looking at everybody involved in the investigation. I'm like, this is not looking right. This is looking real sus. And then they closed the case that rapidly, knowing that these parents need closure. Closure would be finding out if you think you got you a little fish, you pull in a big one, you reel out a fucking grouper in this bitch. Oh, and that's what we going for. We going for a grouper. We going great white shark level, okay? So, then I find two articles, because after they went in, they found all kind of evidence. They found all kind of evidence. They found cell phones, laptops of the kids, the wall, there was a wall next to the bed where the kids were sleeping on. YouTube comments was like, oh, they didn't talk about the sex dungeon. And I'm thinking a hidden dungeon somewhere on the property. Then I find the damn YouTube video showing when they went up in there, it was in the regular house. So the lady was in there too. Then I had to start going in my Rolodex of the stuff that, after chilling with white people for so long, that racist, gangbanging ass white people do, that I found out, okay? So I'm like, I gotta go to Rolodex of my information, because this shit ain't looking right. In the room, they had basically like a 2x4 on the wall with like O-holes or something. O-rings, I can't remember what they call them, but they're like little things, little metal pieces that you can like attach a carpenter or a lock or chains and shit to, and they had it, you know, screwed in to this 2x4 all along the wall. And then they also found bloody clothing, a file, binders of the guy's mental history. And then they were like attacking her throat chakra, so she couldn't even get the rest of it out, the most important part out. The most important part, which is what I understood what she was trying to say, even though she didn't say it, was I found more pictures of more kids. I found papers with lists of names of kids with numbers next to them. And what she was trying to say was, they didn't look like numbers of their ages. They looked like other type of numbers that would maybe be identifiable somehow if they were investigated by somebody with some fucking common sense and higher education, or, you know, and we're not talking college, okay? Higher. So she couldn't even get it out though, but I heard it, and then I moved on. I said, okay. Then I see articles saying, what else? Oh, that when they collected this evidence, that they tried to give it to the police, and the police were just like, oh, you know, the case is closed. You know, if you want to keep the stuff, you can keep it, but if not, you know, whatever. Then they're showing a video of them going through the house, looking, and when they found the cell phones and laptops, and the damn guy who came in there with the camera, he was like, when they're asking him, well, he's like, well, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I don't know what you expect this to solve. And I'm like, you know, when you start feeling crazy, you know, when you start feeling crazy, your eyes start twitching, and you're like, oh, hell no, I'm about to go off. That is what I felt like the father was gonna do. And like, they were like, if you're an insidious person, a person with no empathy, you would say something like that. Because like, for them, they feel defeated. They got to go up in there, clean up this mess. They got to collect evidence, actually do a job. But they know that that's not their job, because the Supreme Court said they are not here to serve and protect us, okay? Because they have their back, so that when they don't do what their proper reporting, and they're not thorough, the public is going to look at them like, what the hell? Like we are. And they got their back on that, right? Well, we got the back on the public. This is what's going down. I look at it like this. I say, he tried to basically entrap the father to fight him, because they didn't have nobody under arrest. And you know, all they caring about is getting that money. That's all they care about. They're not caring about the bodies, the people, their lives, how that's going to affect them. None of that. So he said that, and the dad was just in tears, like, you know, he was just been crying the whole damn time, probably been crying the whole damn time, and you telling a grown-ass bearded man, what is that gonna solve? And I know I talk shit, about dudes. You know, when they have kids, I'm like, oh, you know, they get castrated. Because the thought process is, most of them not going to war. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have kids. They're like, ah, man, I can't be up in that shit. You know, or they not going in the street and, like, fighting nobody because they like, I got kids. I can't be going to jail. They not stealing nothing like that, you know? But when it comes to their kids, when it comes to, especially if they had daughters, I'm making the hair stand up on my face. They get fucking pissed. They'll freaking beat the bricks off of somebody. That guy said that shit, and the only reason he said that shit is because he know he got that badge on, and he wasn't gonna get his ass whooped. He wasn't gonna get his ass whooped because everybody, if they was, because they were recording it, nobody in the public, nobody, not a Christian up in this bitch, not nobody that's spiritual would have been looking at that. The dude, after he said what he said, would have been looking at that dude with the beard. If he was crying and beating the shit up out of that guy, that cop, nobody would have felt bad for him because of what came out his damn mouth. So, because how fucking insensitive can you be? What the shit? I don't give a fuck if you have to take a picture of crime scenes all the time, and that even the ladies who went up in there that did your job for you because you weren't doing it, that they got on the news and said nobody should have to do this, okay? Because that's your damn, if you getting online and you publicly saying that's your job, you're gonna do it in that sit, and you're not gonna complain. And if you got a problem with it, you better take your ass to a damn therapist. Take your ass to a therapist. That's how I see it. Or quit the damn job and do something else. This other shit paying more than that. Anyway, I'm gonna put my glasses on. I'm like, they're making me get with the bullshit. So, but Supreme Court said that that's not their job. So they not trying to be doing that. And they know why they were created. They know that they were created the sheriffs was created to catch people that they enslaved that were running away. The police were created to work for the politicians as private security for the rich people and for corporations. They're corporations. That's what they were made for. And for the municipality so that they can get a cash flow. So, now, where are we? Now, then I find an article. That's because the media be knowing, the media gotta have spies. The media gotta have, like, they gotta be hiring ex-federal agents. They gotta be. Because they be knowing, that people don't, the damn sheriffs wasn't even talking about that. So, the news article said that, that the guy was arrested when he was convicted and he was in prison. He was even caught with having a cell phone illegally, because you're not supposed to have a cell phone in prison. Mind you, he was caught in the possession of child pornography when they caught him, right? So they already know a cell phone is all he needs. Well, every time anybody in jail gets a cell phone, it's the corrections officers that gave it to him. They told us about it already from the jail, from their damn cell phones that they gave their ass. So, the whole time his ass is locked up, you know his ass is watching child porn. And so, how it looks like, because I don't know when they met versus when him and his wife met versus when he was first arrested. Because she moved in with him after he was already out and when he was already been renting that house. So, I don't know when that was. So, I don't know if they were dating while he was locked up and she was the one who gave him money. But if nobody is giving you money in jail and you need stuff and the corrections officers are giving them to you, you indebted to the corrections officers. So if he got a phone and he didn't have no money to pay for it, because he had to pay the court fees and save up for whatever his parole was going to be, he in jail looking at pictures of children. And then when he gets out, how he got out of jail and he got an SUV, how he got out of prison and he got an SUV and he renting a house, and clearly his wife not working. So I'm looking at it, I'm saying, and then he paying parole fees, court fees, and all of that. And he's listed as an independent contractor. An independent contractor for who? And for doing what? That would be, if I was doing that, that would be what I would be looking at. Because I would be like, it's more to this story here. Now, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it and I'm saying it's more to this story here, because publicly is how the government faces the public. That's why they have publicists and speakers of the house, okay? Because what their asses are doing behind the scenes, they don't want your ass to know about, okay? So they're gonna okie doke you as much as they can. Publicly, they're showing them over there in Florida, going to get them damn kids where, you know, they do the sex trafficking and catching left and right whoever they can. And supposedly that's what they're doing, spending decades on this stuff, okay? Supposedly. Meanwhile, day to day, the gangbangers, they saying they working with them. Kids killing cops, and the kid saying that's my work. The kid not saying it because that's, I mean, it might be a psychopath. You know, he's saying that's my work. Like, that's his job. That's his job. Because they just killed a black lady cop in Chicago, and the kids, it was 4 people. The kid said, that's my job. And the mom's crying, and she like, what kind of person does that? I said, trained killers say that. Trained, keyword, trained killers say that. And so we'll go back to Oklahoma, and then so publicly they say that they're trying to act like they're here for us, but in reality, it doesn't matter. You know, that's why they try to say it's not about race. But I'm going to give the details of why it is about race, because I heard it from the horse's mouth. Because to us, we're like, oh, they always going after us. But then, and either way, even when I went down to Georgia, they was coming after me. But when I went in that court, it was only like 4 black people in there, because the whole damn town is freaking white, basically. But then they're getting people left and right. So when I got up in there, I'm like, I need the tea on this situation. And so what I find is that, and what I found is that you have the Aryan Brotherhood, who's racist. Aryan Brotherhood and the Nazis, they gangbanging together, selling drugs together, turning women into sex slaves together, and apparently children too, because now I got the evidence. Then they're at war with gangster disciples over there, because gangster disciples ain't no racist. They're a white gang, but they not racist. So they chill with minorities, you know, and party with them. So what you see mostly in jail over there is gangster disciple people. They harass them, they target them on their birthdays. I mean, how crazy and psychotic do you have to be to arrest somebody on their birthday, the day that they're supposed to be partying and having a damn good time, and you're making them regret the day that they were born? You're a fucking... this is how we doing. This is how we doing them. So, and mind you, the person, the people that they're doing that to, They know that they have children, little young children in those environments that they're doing heavy hardcore drugs around. And that same exact jail was a jail where they were already caught, the corrections officers and the sheriffs, because the sheriffs are the ones who run the jail. So they're not even corrections officers, because it's not even prison. It's sheriffs. They run in the streets. So they were turning a blind eye while one of the gang members in the jail, which was probably an Aryan Brotherhood person, was getting heroin and meth and stuff in there to basically sell it and keep the gangster disciple people on the drugs. Because a lot of these people, when they can't pay bail, they stay in jail and they in there, you know. So that's enough time for you to get sober if you didn't have no damn drugs coming up in this shit, right? No, they not having that. They want you to get back on the streets, back on the drugs, back so you can fight them again. That's how they doing it. Back so that they can have the sheriffs pick your ass up again, and the sheriffs can get some more money. That's how they doing it there. If that's how they ass is doing it there, that's a blueprint. Because gangs operate on a blueprint. That's how they doing it. It's just that people don't know. So I look at this family, one of the families that lost their kids, and they don't look like, you know, they look like white boys I used to chill with, you know, back in the day. Like, they look like niggas that if I lived down there, I would go bring the 30 pack and we would make a bonfire and do barbecue and be drinking up in there, okay? Chilling. And those type of looking people's kids got killed. So you know, and they will have those type of people, they try to brainwash them and say, oh, we don't pay attention to them, we don't see when they die. I'm like, we seeing it. We saying they got us up to here with the bullshit with us that we be like, what the fuck? It's too much. So I take my time as much as I can, and I try to, you know, be as balanced as I can. And I look and I'm like, man, they doing that shit. They're doing that to them too, but in a different way. And so, but what I know about, because I grew up around one of my very close friends in high school, you know, his mom was basically owned by a biker gang. Not basically, she literally was owned by a biker gang. Because what they do, and this is what I saw in the evidence of the Oklahoma kids, what they do to their women is they get in, they play them, they love bomb them like a narcissist. They love bomb them, they get them in, they get them in with the whole motorcycle gear and all that, and then they get them on injectable drugs, and they're addicted to it after a short amount of time. So they think they're not seeing what they're really into, and then because they really don't like women, and because they really don't love these women, nor their kids, then they start passing that kitty cat around to everybody. I'm like, you passing around your girl? Because they look at her like she's property. And then she can't go nowhere because now she's financially dependent upon them, which is why they always want you to be passive, because they say submissive, but it's passive. So that when they're beating you and drugging you and doing all this stuff to you, sexually abusing you, that you're not fighting their ass back. You're not going to try to kill them. And then they got guys in the court that when you do try to kill them, they try to lock you up. You should be able to protect yourself to the death. To the death. With the way these guys are acting. But no, not the courts don't. The courts don't want that, and the courts are dirty all the way up to the Supreme Court. Dirty all the way up to the Supreme Court. All the way up to the damn black dude who's married to a white dude, or spirit put it out. The black dude that's technically probably in a relationship with a Nazi white dude, but married to a white woman. Okay? We don't even fucking know, because they never said that they were on the boat, both of them as spouses together with this Nazi art collecting, Nazi memorabilia collecting billionaire who was buying up all their stuff. And the white woman that the black guy's married to got him all okey doked. And he might be like freaking, literally like Uncle Ruckus, because he looked like him. He looked like him. And he be acting like him. He want to be like them. Uncle Ruckus is a character from the Boondocks, if you don't know. If you don't know, look it up, Google. So, the court's dirty all the way up there. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh shit. That's what they did to these kids. And then, because at first I'm thinking the dungeon is hidden, like nobody sees it or whatever. This is just a one-odd thing. When you look at the dang house, they was getting sexually abused every time they went over there. That's what it looked like. And the only way that would be possible, because the kids, you know, some of the kids' parents were like, you know, my kid texts me all the time, says, Mom, I'm fine. That means nothing, moms. That means nothing. They're fucking paranoid that you might fucking drive your ass by the house that you let them go to and find out what the hell their asses are doing to them in there. That's what that means. Because they were injecting them with injectable drugs and raping them. And then the kids, now they're addicted. You don't know their ass is addicted to drugs. They look like they're fine. They look like they're fine. Because they don't start looking like zombies until everything is out of control for them, which is when they're in the trauma of and staying in that trauma. But when they're just somebody's doing it to them, and it's them that's controlling it, they can give them a little bit, and they can have them just not looking like they're fiending, but they might have looked like they were fiending. They were probably asking, hey mom, can I go to so and so's house, and asking them all the time if they could go over there because they needed a fix. And every time they let their kids go over there, they were drugging them and they were raping their asses. And I don't have no kids, but my thing is this. No parent should have to go through that shit. Especially decent parents. Because all they wanted was their kids to have a decent time. Maybe have them go on excursions that they couldn't afford to give them themselves, which is orchestrated by our government. And I say a lot of stuff, and it affects all of us. Poor white people, when brown people are talking, we're talking to poor white non-racists too. Because the racists, they not poor. They not poor. They act like they ass is. Okay? Because they getting that money. By hook and they all crooks. Okay? So, is that all I have? Because, you know, when it comes to me, it's like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. So, none of the sheriffs knew he was a sex... Oh, no, it gets worse. And so, when I went in the Georgia court that I was in, I made it a point to say on the record in front of the judge, I said, this whole damn town is corrupt. And everybody knows it. And I pissed the damn judge off. It was by God's grace that went over top of that person's head to just give me a low time for my probation and a 6-month bid. But the key is that when I said that and he was upset, there was a old white woman, older. She's like, I don't want to call her old because she's like, I don't know, maybe like 60. I can't ever tell hardly with white people. And so, let's say 50, 60. She was in there with her son. She was like, yes, they are. She was like, oh, no, I lie. She said, and it's funny because they got me lying right now saying that that's what she said, when in reality, because they're doing witchcraft, they doing dark magic. So they messing with like spiritual good people that would save somebody's life and protect them. They messing with our chakras. They're trying to magically block us from speaking our truth. So I spoke my truth. The lady in the back was like, she ain't lying though. She ain't lying though. Because they know. And everybody knows, but they keep voting them in because they are literally under the oppression of the Aryan Brotherhood and the Nazis. Because if they, even other white people that are not in the gang life or none of that, they're literally attacking them. They target them. They go, I mean, for a broken tail light, you're going up to somebody and you're like, you know, going off on them, like going off. And the people are like, what the shit is this? So then they're doing that because they want them to not fight for their constitutional rights with them. They want them to give that freedom away so that when they come and target brown people who fight for their... listen, I fought for my shit. I fought for my shit. Soon as they came up in there and started trying to put their hands on me, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, you slammed my head into the damn metal frame of the car. I had it choking me and everything. I had to bite the dude. I had to bite him to get him off me. And, you know, they looked at me like, oh, because I was yelling and all this. I said... I felt his energy when he was coming up to me. That's why I rolled up. And I never in my life have rolled up my windows for no cop. Because if I didn't do nothing, what's the problem? Even if I catch you on a bad day, I'll use my dimples. And I'll be like, hey, what's going on? You know? Well, what's the problem? You know? No, but I felt this energy that wanted to fight rolling up on me. And so I put the freaking windows and gave him a little crack in the windows. And he was freaking pissed. He was pissed and he was making demands, and I wasn't trying to do it because I said, well, what's the crime? What's the reasonable suspicion? I mean, anything. Give me anything. You're not giving me anything. If you want to ask, don't ask me anything, because I'm telling you already asked me if I was fighting with the lady in the drive-through window. I said no. The lady standing right there. There's a lady and two guys standing right there that know what I was talking about, because they were laughing at me because I was on my phone on video chat, cussing my brother, telling him to calm down because he thought I hit a deer because I was gone for like an hour lost. Because I didn't damn GPS don't be working out in Bumblefuck. But then he was just so insistent to get in the car and get his hands on me. And so I'm like, I'm not even in park. And then they bust the window. He calls back up. Then they bust the window. They come up in there, drag me out. And I'm fighting against them because I don't have the damn car in park. I got my foot on a fucking brake. My whole situation was a mess. But they do that to us all the time. And thankfully we have some white auditors that go out there and they like, we squashing this right here. Because then at least you could see the difference between how they treating them white people when they do it, when they stand up for their constitutional rights, and how they treated me with no criminal history, who was an ex-police officer. And imagine how I see how they treat the kids, brown kids in the street. They harass them when their parents aren't there. They take all their information so they know where they live. And then they can go and stalk them. So then once those kids are psychologically like broken and really just are like, well, if they're treating me like a criminal, then I'm going to just go be one. All the white people are like, oh, they just, you know, their parents, you know, weren't around there. They must have been treating them like shit. I'm like, nah, I've seen the cops, they making them. They making them like that. They making them like that so that when they get in the jail, now they got an employee. Because the cops in a gang, the cops are gang too. It's racist, and it ain't even just racist in there. It's just gang bangers in there. They gang banging. So it's, yes, about race in many ways, but then it's also not, because it's a gang thing. But even the gang thing, at the end of the day, that shit is about race. Because the only reason the white gangs is because the white gangs that are not racist, because there's white gangs that are not racist, and they want all the white people to be racist. So then go back to Donald Trump, because I feel like this is going to go back to him. I feel like it is. I really do. And because everybody feels like if he's talking that and he was saying brazenly what he would do with his hands, grab him by the pussy, that he got blood on his hands. He got bodies on his hands. He got children's bodies on his hands. I'm telling you. It has to be. And then he got all these people that are in the gangs. They in a cult. He's the cult leader. And then he's walking around here acting like his ass is the Antichrist, basically. And the religious people eating it up. And their own Bible said that this would happen to them. So it's a lot of it's a lot of shit going on. But I you know, I feel for these families, and I might not be able to know what that means, like what that feels like to be a parent, but you know, I feel what you're feeling when you feeling this shit. This is what an empath life is. We feel it, and it holds us down, it bogs us down, and we feel like we can't even get up out the bed unless we share it, or we're driven to help you. So when you think nobody's helping you and every odd is stacked up against you, we're in our little temples. We are trying to protect you.